Chapter 14 Miranda. Never Going to Give You Up played through the speakers in The Lion and Lamb as we enter the pub for the weekly trivial night. The quiz nights are one of the highlights on the Eden Cove social calendar and a great way to spend a date night. Although between the campsite and family happenings, we don't get to them as often as we'd like. I inhaled the familiarity of The Lion and Lamb, the almost stale smell of beer mixing with the sense of weekend perfumes and aftershaves. The dark wooden beams made the pub feel smaller than it was. The old-fashioned red and black swirly carpet was perfect for hiding years of spilled drinks. The large fireplace provided a wonderful warmth in the chill of winter. For the summer months it lay dormant, displaying a stack of cobweb-draped firewood. Pausing at the bar, we got menus from Sharon, the barmaid. By the time we sat down, we had already greeted several neighbours and Eden Cove residents, and there were even some familiar faces from the campsite. It's nice when tourists come and spend time and money with the locals. In the hubbub of the busy bar, we perused the menus, more out of habit than necessity. The menu at the Lion and Lamb rarely changed. Kevin returned to the bar, where he ordered our drinks and food. Fish, chips and mushy peas for me, and steak and eel pie for him. The upbeat 80s playlist moved from familiar tune to familiar tune, which meant if I wasn't eating, I was humming along to the music. Kevin grinned as he glanced over at me, a fork full of pie halfway to his mouth. I guess you're hoping for music trivia in tonight's quiz. I smiled as I swayed to the music. Always. And what about you? What categories are you hoping for? He nodded his head, a satisfied smile crossing his face. I'm feeling confident about general knowledge. Without planning lectures or dealing with marking, my brain has had time to absorb all kinds of useful nuggets. I went to the bar for another round of drinks before the quiz began. Cara, our next door neighbour, served me. It's busy tonight, I shouted over the bar to her. She nodded. I think Saturday nights are the landlord's favourite. I watched her as she poured orange juice and lemonade into my glass. She's like Naomi, quiet and reserved. Eden Cove is a perfect place for people like Cara and Naomi. They are known and seen, even though they are quiet. Sometimes I forget the perks of this community. Back at the table, it was time to get serious. It was time to test our knowledge in the trivia quiz. The MC announced the first category was movie classics. The category announcements always come with an equal response of groans and cheers. Tonight's quiz also included a music section, perfect for me. Kevin got his general knowledge round, and after several rounds, including cricket and English rivers, the quiz came to an end. We tallied our scores, congratulating ourselves on our respectable sixth place. We are both competitive, so we keep a sneaky track of how many points we each get. Tonight, we had each answered the same number of correct questions. While we were walking home, my phone rang. My screen displayed a picture of Rebecca. I slid my finger across the screen, hoping nothing was wrong. Hi, Mum. I didn't wake you, did I? Cheeky thing. It was only 10 o'clock. I've been given a few days off, so I'm just going to come home tomorrow. I'm just waiting for the overnight bus to London. Is everything okay? Why do we always worry as mothers? Why wouldn't she want to return home with a few days off? Of course. I fell asleep wondering why Rebecca was coming home. The next morning, Mum declared she could walk to and from church. Kevin and I walked either side of her, ready to support her if needed. Each day, she faithfully went for walks to improve her mobility and muscles post-surgery. Her work showed she was steady and capable on her feet. Joshua bounded beside us, full of his usual energy and nonsense. By tonight, the girls would be home. I was looking forward to catching up with them, desperate to hear how Naomi was doing after her exam. She had video called to say it had gone better than her previous exam, but it wasn't the same as seeing her for myself. As for Rebecca, I suspected her homecoming had ulterior motives. It was a long way to come for a 4-day break. The only blot in family life was that Lewis would be returning to Nottingham once his shift at the campsite was done this afternoon. He hadn't gone into details, but said something was wrong with his dad and he needed to go home. Unsure of when he would return. The timing was lousy. for Naomi. They'd miss each other by a matter of hours. The timing wasn't great for the campsite either. We were fully booked for the next 2 weeks. Hopefully, Naomi could take on extra shifts now that her exam was over. Kevin and Joshua had already agreed to increasing their hours as if they had a choice. In the extended family of church, I thank God for his provision and for his faithfulness, losing myself in the words of the worship songs. The worship team played God is So Good, a chorus I was familiar with from childhood. I guess the song was meaningful to many of us in the congregation as the worship leader led us through the chorus several times. Doubt still hovered over Kevin's job, but in spite of those questions, I knew God was good, and a good and a perfect plan lay ahead. I didn't need to have the answers. When the service ended, I made a point of looking for Stephanie. I was curious about how Lena's cruise was going. She's having a wonderful time, Stephanie replied. I think she's realised how much she needed the holiday. She works hard. I know she'll love the guest house, but it is time for her, I agreed. And how are you enjoying running the guest house? I had a rocky start, but it's going well. I'm enjoying putting my degree to use. She glanced around as if ensuring no one was listening to our conversation. I'm actually thinking of creating a side business from it, which will hopefully become its own concern. I'd love to talk to you about it sometime. It could potentially be beneficial for the campsite and other local businesses too. I leaned in closer. I'm intrigued. Afternoon teas. They go down a treat in the guest house, and now we're looking into hosting them around Eden Cove. We're trialling a few this season. Maybe next year we could offer afternoon teas at your campsite. What do you think? That sounds like a wonderful idea, Stephanie. I've been trying to think of new ideas to increase bookings, so it's a yes from me. Let's talk details once you've run a few of your trials, and we could discuss how it would work at the campsite. I hugged her, excited at the prospect. A few weeks ago, after chatting with Kevin about the potential for a campsite shop, I had set about stocking a few camping items and children's toys in the shop. I bought a small second-hand mini fridge from a local online marketplace for the milk and eggs, and received a daily delivery of rolls from the Ferryman's Bakery. We'd had a steady turnover of the fresh goods and had sold some camping pegs and toys. At the end of the season, I'll evaluate sales and make a plan for how we could expand the shop next year. And now here was another exciting venture to consider. The worship songs from this morning's service stayed in my head all afternoon. As I weeded the garden, the songs of praise and worship accompanied me. While I worked, the conversation with Stephanie kept me company. I said yes to her idea as a means of encouraging her and Lena, but I also saw potential for the campsite. It would be next year before the afternoon tea would start. However, maybe there was a part of it we could test out this season. What if we combined the afternoon teas with family fun afternoons? Surely we could organise something in the campsite within a couple of weeks. Kevin joined me in the garden mid-afternoon with a refreshing glass of orange squash. I told him about the conversation with Stephanie and my idea about the family fun party. That sounds like a great idea. Where would you have it? I'm not sure. We would need a good open space so that wayward balls or frisbees wouldn't clatter against tents. It would depend on how busy we were and where tents were located. How about we head to the campsite and check out potential locations? Hand in hand, we strolled around the campsite, then stood at the office looking out over our little business. I glanced at Kevin, observing the way his brow furrowed as he contemplated the various locations. I could almost imagine the whirling sounds in his business brain, working over the details. For the most part, the campsite is my domain, and I make most of the decisions, but it's nice to get Kevin's thoughts occasionally too. He pointed to the area directly in front of the office. How about here? It's a good open space. You could mark off the area so no one camps too close to the play zone. The trees on the other side offer a sheltered area for hosting afternoon teas. You could have coloured sail attached to the trees coming out over part of the table area. I looked over the area in question, nodding as I began to see his idea in glorious technicolor, imagining the area full of campers, children and parents laughing as they played games, grown-ups relaxing, enjoying the delights of Stephanie's afternoon tea. I reached my arms around Kevin, the two of us still gazing at the suggested space. I love it. I can see the potential and how we can make it a feature. I'm excited at the prospect of offering something new. I glanced at my watch, but right now, I need to say goodbye to Lewis, and it won't be long until the girls are home. I knocked on the door of the caravan. Lewis opened it without any of his characteristic energy. My heart went out to him. Oh, Lewis, I'm so sorry. I didn't know much about his reason for returning to Nottingham, but it didn't take a genius to see the toll the family crisis, whatever it was taking on him. He kept his eyes to the ground, still holding the handle of the door. There's no rush to come back. I've got enough people to help me until you're able to return. If you're able to return. His eyebrows pinched together and he nodded. Thanks. The one-word answer seemed the only response he had. I hugged him and walked away, praying for his situation back home. I will miss Lewis. Back at 11 Sycamore Street, my emotions were split between worrying about Lewis and excitement at seeing my girls. Not that there was anything more we could do for Lewis. He hadn't divulged the particulars of why he was going home. He hadn't asked for anything from us except for time off. All we could do was pray for him. He would be part of my daily prayer songs. I checked my phone again, looking for any updates from the girls. Rebecca had been keeping me up to date on her travel progress, sending texts and pictures from her journey. She must be exhausted. She had left Glenmuir on the overnight bus to London. The girls met in London, then caught the bus that would bring them home. As soon as I heard the handle of the front door creak, I jumped and raced over to welcome them. Naomi smiled and hugged me. Rebecca was her usual boisterous self, even after travelling for almost 20 hours. Over a relaxing buffet dinner, we caught up on all the news. The girls were both attentive to Mum, asking how her recovery was going, especially Rebecca, who hadn't seen her since the hip operation. Naomi confirmed her resit had gone well. Unlike her May exam, she felt ready and well versed in the subject. It would be a couple of weeks before she received her result. She was confident of a pass. And I've got some other news too, she continued. When I was in Reading, one of Aunt Susan's friends offered me a job doing data entry for a month, starting in 3 weeks. I hope you don't mind me ditching the campsite then, but this would provide a full-time income for a month. And it may lead to part-time work during the academic year, which would be helpful. On the back of Lewis going back to Nottingham, Naomi's news caused me to catch my breath. Would I manage without her? Kevin would be transitioning back to work by then, and Joshua would be getting ready to return to school. Although close to the start of the new school year, the campsite would be quieter. I nodded, reminding myself to respond. Of course I'll manage. It's a great opportunity for you if it leads to work throughout the year. Rebecca, who had been flitting from seat to seat, unable to remain still since she arrived, stood up. And I've got work news too. We all looked at her. I bet you've been wondering why I came all this way for just a few days. We all nodded, and she continued. I'm loving life as an outdoor instructor at Braid Hope, and I guess my boss is happy with my performance because he's offered me a 1-year contract. Pausing, she glanced around the room. I looked at Kevin. What should we say? He spoke first. But what about your place at university? Rebecca flicked her hair behind her shoulder. She looked so healthy, the glow of working outdoors since May colouring her cheeks and limbs. Her eyes sparkled at the mention of extending her stay at Braid Hope. I've already been in touch with uni to ask if I can defer my place until next year, and they've said I can. If I'm going to be a primary school teacher, then spending a year instructing primary school children in activities shows I'm committed to the age group. She looked at me. What do you think, Mum? I nodded, giving myself a moment to catch my emotions before replying. I think it sounds like a great opportunity for you, Rebecca. And if the university is happy for you to defer, then I guess we're okay with you doing this. Rebecca was already jumping up and down, celebrating this year of adventure before her. When had these two girls grown up and started making their own plans? I was proud of them both. As I got ready for bed, I softly sang, God is so good. Today had been a day of new ideas, changed plans and excitement. A reminder that life is always changing, and through it all, God is good. I prayed that Lewis would experience that goodness in his situation too.